The Baltimore Children and Youth Fund sent taxpayer dollars to an organization that employs Mayor Brandon Scott's wife. Patrick Huff from our Spotlight on Maryland team investigates a potential conflict of interest at the BCYF nonprofit.
The Baltimore Children and Youth Fund received $16 million taxpayer dollars this fiscal year, money it's guaranteed annually in the Baltimore City Charter to support local programs for children. BCYF's latest nonprofit tax form from fiscal year 2024 shows it sent $62,500 to Bmore Empowered, where Hana Scott, the wife of Mayor Scott, is listed as the director of operations. Mrs. Scott lists on her LinkedIn that she's worked at Bmore Empowered since 2021.
Definitely is a potential conflict of interest.
That's Amanda Beck, a professor at Georgia State University who focuses on nonprofit and government accounting. She said officials handling taxpayer money need to be especially transparent about why and how organizations qualify for funding.
Given that there are taxpayer funds involved, even the appearance of a conflict of interest kind of casts doubt on, whether or not the proper steps were taken to vet the organization.
BCYF sent money to Bmore Empowered in fiscal year 2024, which covers the period when the Scotts got engaged and had their first child. BCYF is required by city law to have one member on its board that is either from the mayor's office or a designee of the mayor's office. The BCYF board votes on what organizations receive grant money. Brian Mittendorf is the chair of the accounting school at Ohio State University, where he specializes in nonprofit accounting. He said BCYF needs to provide clarity on its conflict of interest policies.
When you have a person who can have influence over an organization and its decisions, being related to another person who has influence over either the grant provider or the grant recipient, you have that concern. And the big question is, did the organization do something to make sure that that concern wasn't a reality?
Mayor Scott's office referred our questions about the grant money to BCYF. A spokesman for the organization told us BCYF has extensive financial and operational transparency. He said Bmore Empowered has worked as a fiscal sponsor for a BCYF grantee since 2020. Our attempts to reach Hana Scott were unsuccessful. 6 Baltimore City Council members signed on to a bill last month that would establish a series of new regulations and oversight on BCYF. Included is a measure that would limit BCYF from sending taxpayer dollars to organizations with ties to its staff or board and their family members. BCYF and Mayor Scott announced their opposition to the bill. Neither responded to our question about whether the bill would prevent future grants from BCYF to Bmore Empowered. Mittendorf and Beck said the bill would provide some clarity on how BCYF can distribute taxpayer money.
It would certainly create that distance so that transactions that are engaged in have the assurance that they're done at a distance.
I think that would be what I would call like a good governance type rule that would just prevent future conflicts of interest.
Bmore Empowered last filed a nonprofit tax form in 2023, meaning there is no information about how it used taxpayer dollars in 2024 and 2025. The organization did not respond to the following questions. Did Bmore Empowered continue to receive BCYF grant money in fiscal year 25 and 26? How much money does Hana Scott make at Bmore Empowered? Why has Bmore Empowered not filed a Form 990 for 2024? Are you able to provide this tax form? Beck and Mittendorf said taxpayers are owed more information about how Bmore Empowered spends its money.
It would be very fair for the taxpayer to want to see more recent financial records than that.
Filing of a 990 is essentially the bare minimum in terms of compliance.
BCYF is not only dealing with pending legislation on its transparency. We reported last week on how the Baltimore City Inspector General launched an investigation into the nonprofit. We'll keep a close eye on these developments and we'll continue to track how nonprofits spend your taxpayer dollars. For Spotlight on Maryland, I'm Patrick Huff.
I'm Kai Jackson. Thank you for watching. Here's another video to watch. Also, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel.